Okay. So we'll go ahead and take a roll. Ken Kimber?
Here.
John Gunkel?
Here.
John France? Okay. George Peterson?
Here.
Sean Hawkins? Bob Hartwell? He's there. He's just muted.
Now you can hear me?
Now we can hear you, yes.
Okay, I'm here.
Joe Cassidy?
Here.
Perfect. So at this time, we do not have quorum. We have 3 members who noted that they would be absent. They are Tygo Guerra, Kathy Gondring, and Sheree Ankrum. So hopefully they log in before we start the business items.
Felicia, what were the 3 that said they notified you
Tygo
prior?
Guerra, Kathy Gondring, and Sheree Ankrum, they said that they could not make it.
Hey, Felicia, I don't know if it makes a difference, but the first note that you sent out, I clicked on it, I couldn't get a connection, but the second note you sent out, which seemed to be the same in terms of the link, it worked. I don't know why the first note didn't work for me. I don't know if anybody else is having trouble with that.
I'm not sure either. Did anybody else have any issues accessing the link?
No.
Might have been something maybe with your connection or...
Yeah, I don't know. I clicked the link on the second note you sent out and it worked fine. First one it didn't. I don't know why.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it worked. All right, William, you want to go ahead and get us started?
Yes, I did have. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. I know it's been several months since you guys have seen my face, but I am still here. Was out on extended medical leave for almost the entire month of July and for the majority of the month of August. But I am back, still here. Me and all of the staff are still working hard to navigate through some of these difficult, through this difficult course with COVID. But staff is still working very, very diligently to do what we can despite the pandemic. I did have 2 items for the commission to approve today. And would like to go over those with you so that even if we don't have quorum today, that these items are on your radar for consideration. The first is there are two naming facilities that I would like to share with you. The first is the naming of a facility after the late Mr. Larry W. Womble. I believe Mr. Kimber, the chair, received a letter from the mayor, Alan Joins.
Yes, I did.
Requesting that the overlook at the quarry be named in honor of the late Mr. Harry W. Womble. I know that many of you have either seen or been on the overlook. They're at the quarry. It is an item that we feel is justified. Mr. Womble did a lot of things for the community. He served the state, served the city of Winston-Salem for a number of years. He was there at the quarry when we had several special events. And although we do not have a quorum, would like for you to make would take this time to accept any questions or any concerns that you may have in regards to the naming of the overlook at the quarry in memory of the Mr. Larry Womble.
Hey, Rosie, when you say the overlook, you're talking about the cantilevered overlook?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if it's something else. Okay.
Yeah, and there will be some sort of lettering or something that will go on the side of the overlook itself. There are some areas where we could kind kind of have the naming actually placed on the overlook itself. It's something that we could probably do prior to beginning the phase 2 renovations out there. But to answer your question, yes. You guys have any questions or concerns regarding any other questions or concerns regarding that particular naming item?
No concerns. I guess my only question would be, were there any other, is it basically just that Mr. Womble, or were there any other contenders? Or is it specifically him?
It was, there weren't any other contenders. Typically, we'll receive these requests from a city council member who was made aware of the request from someone in the community. However, there are times when city council themselves will make those requests. They make those formal requests to the department. At that point, it's my duty to bring those in front of the commission for an official vote and approval before they go to city council for final approval. I think one of the most recent ones we did was the Minnie Lee Davis Harris Recreation Center, changing it from the 14th Street Recreation Center in honor of her. And now if you go by 14th Street Recreation Center, you'll see the naming on the actual front of the Recreation Center it has its new name, as well as the park entrance sign, and the signs there have been updated as well.
If I could interrupt for just a second, John France just joined us, and we do now have quorum.
Okay. Thank you. So officially, would like to present this to the commission for approval. If it is approved, it will go to city council to take a final vote this month.
William, just curious, does the city have any qualifications or stipulations when bridges, buildings, parks, whatever are being named in honor of someone, of what qualifications are, or is it purely just a recommendation that's put forward?
It's typically just a recommendation that's put forward. I guess the process that it follows is one that has to be approved. And so it typically comes to the commission first, and then it goes to city council for final approval. If at any point we felt as though there were some, or if you all felt that there were some issues with those particular naming rights, this would be that opportunity to kind of state them. Most people, most of the time, I haven't seen too many recommendations come through that were not approved. They're usually done for people that have provided excellent service to the city, to the community as well, or to a particular side of, or a particular area of town, such as the Minnie Lee Davis Harris Recreation Center. So there isn't a set of criteria that's used for that, for naming of park facilities. So I'd like to
I'll move to approve.
Ask the chair to get the commission to vote on the approval for the naming of the overlook at the quarry after the late Mr. Larry W. Womble.
Could we get a motion to approve the naming of the park for Mr. Womble?
So moved.
Motion approved.
All right.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Late this morning, and I believe Felicia has emailed a copy of this to all of you as well. We received another recommendation to name a community garden after Councilmember Parman. To kind of give you some background on this particular project, she approached us about a month and a half ago, with a request to create a community garden at Helen Nichols Park, which is where our Carl H. Russell Recreation Center is located. I may be able to, Felicia, share my screen and bring up that area if I need to. But as many of you are familiar with Carl Russell Recreation Center, we've had commission meetings there. Located right adjacent to the picnic shelter behind the recreation center was an old sand volleyball court. And the volleyball court really hasn't been used for volleyball for a number of years. And she had an idea to use that space to create some outdoor community gardens where members of the community in the Northeast Ward could come in, plant flowers, plant vegetables, grow things there using the garden space. And she wanted it to be a more of a long-term project. We have about 40 separate flower beds that will be located right there inside of the former volleyball court. It's not going to take away of any open green space that we have there at the park. In addition to the garden space, we'll be adding 2 pear trees and 4 apple trees that will be located along the fence line before you go down that large bank that goes out to the ball field, but on the shelter side of the fence itself. So in addition to the gardening, the community gardening area, there will be some fruit trees that will be planted. And it's our hopes that, you know, some of the fruit that once the trees begin to bear fruit, that there are actually some programs that we can operate out of the newly renovated recreation center that could include using some of the fruits and vegetables that were being grown in the community garden and doing some cooking classes or developing some sort of cooking program inside of the recreation center. And so we think it's going to be a great project. Currently, we're working with her to get all the fruit trees purchased. Again, there will be 2 pear trees, 4 apple trees planted along the fence line in the back. But we did receive a recommendation this morning from Councilmember Larson to name the garden area after Councilmember Parman.
Motion?
Brother, I have a question on the garden.
Sure.
Before you make a motion, who's going to maintain this garden? Is it going to be city or will the Parks and Recreation, are they going to maintain it?
The city will continue to do the regular maintenance that we perform around the area. There is a garden club group that she's already identified that is committed to maintaining the garden. There are also several members of the community that aren't currently a member of this particular garden club who have expressed interest in coming in and participating and helping to manage and maintain the community garden there. The city's responsibility will be to provide the space, and we're also going to provide a source of water so that during some of the drier months that they can adequately water the garden and maintain them to the best of their ability.
Okay, are they going to be boxed in with, with the wood boxes, or how is it going to be situated?
The garden areas there, the planter boxes were donated and built by the Boy Scouts. We already have those in our possession. We have about 40 of those. They're going to be at ground level. We're going to amend the soil there. We're going to kind of get the area prepared for the garden space. We're going to install filter fabric down on top of the existing sand and subgrade there so that it'll keep the weeds and everything out. And we're going to dress the area up with sand rock, and we're going to compact it very similarly how you would see at Salem Lake on the Salem Lake Trail. but the boxes and planting areas will be at ground level. And we will look to add some sort of protective fencing that can keep, the critters and the deer and the rabbits and things like that outside of the garden area to kind of protect what the community is working on inside the garden space.
Can people volunteer to help out in the garden area? Or do we have to join the club?
No, it's, I think that, I think they will welcome any volunteers. Speaking with one of the members that's going to be kind of leading that effort, they do have a number of volunteers, but they're always looking for people to kind of come in and help and provide assistance. You don't have to be a member of the garden club. The garden will be there for the community to use. And Councilman Parman has been very adamant about providing this space so that members in the Northeast Ward would all have an opportunity to kind of come out and participate as part of this project and part of this process.
Okay, that's the only questions I had concerned. Thank you.
There's no problem at all.
Any other questions? If not, could I get a motion to approve the community garden for Ms. Earlene Palmer?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Hey, Williams.
All right, thank you.
Question to the motion: did you carry with the naming of the garden as well? I didn't know was that carried as well.
Yes, it does get. Yes.
Okay.
Are there any oppositions on that motion? No. Okay, motion carried.
I thank you all for that. In terms of the general business agenda, those were the two items that we had prepared for today. However, I would like to make you aware of one that we'll bring to the commission probably next month. There is a small parcel of property, approximately 0.44 acres, located just on the north side of New Walkertown Road, that a family is looking to donate to the city. I'm going to have a discussion with Councilmember Scipio to make sure that she's okay with it, but it provides an additional buffer for the Newell Massey Greenway that crosses New Walkertown Road that heads over towards Bowen Boulevard. We are looking to possibly bring that as part of our park system. And it actually aligns with other city-owned property now that the city owns for the maintenance as well as the so that they could build and maintain the Newell Massey Greenway. So I'll probably bring in some information back to you next month once I've had an opportunity to discuss with Councilmember Scipio. But I want to make sure that you had that on your radar as well. That's it for the actual business agenda of the meeting. We'd like to move forward with any departmental updates that we have, and I'll start with Leah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. So we do have a few departmental updates I'd like to share with you guys. Excuse me. The first one is the City of Recreation and Parks has worked with their group with the Winston-Salem Urban League to provide 2 locations within our parks so that they can do tent tutoring. And essentially what tent tutoring is the Winston-Salem Urban League is going to Rupert and Bellevue. Right now they're working underneath our basketball shelters, providing remote learning assistance for youth in those areas. Essentially they're walkable locations. Anybody who is struggling logging onto their classes and things of that nature are welcome to go. Their hours are from 7:30 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. Really happy that we were able to support and provide some assistance for them. So if you know anybody that's still looking for remote learning help, there's 2 additional locations. Within recreation centers, we're still doing our extended day camps. happy to say that, definitely a community need there. All of them are still full. We get requests daily to see if more kids can enroll. Unfortunately, we're at capacity. Within the next couple of weeks, we are slowly looking at how we're going to open up our facilities to get very limited structure recreation programs in there. So hopefully by November, you'll see yoga, line dancing, walking groups, and some other things starting to get advertised so that we can slowly start to welcome the community back. Staff really excited about it. We're excited about it. We're ready to get back to the core of what our jobs are. And a couple of interesting things coming up to Salem Lake. They have resumed their bass tournaments. So if anybody's looking to get out there and go fishing, check the website. They're going to have 2 bass fishing tournaments in October, as well as they're providing guided kayak tours. So it is nice to see recreation starting to get back out there and moving along a little bit.
Hey, Leah, this is Sean. Quick question.
Yes, sir.
As it gets colder, they're going to have the tent set up at Rupert Bell start tomorrow, so that's the kids will be able to go into that tent where it will be warm for them. And how long will that continue to last as moving forward?
So the agreement that we have with them, that's going to last until students start resuming in-person education with the school system. It's been a struggle. I watched the school board meeting the other day, and they're going to start to do a hybrid remote learning where kids are going to start going back to school November 16th. So hopefully, by January, all of our kids will be back in school. But in the meantime, the agreement with the tent tutoring program is that they're going to continue on doing outdoor. They're going to provide the outdoor component of it. They're also supposed to bring in heaters and some other components to make it comfortable. Because right now, neither of those locations, the recreation centers that are associated with those parks, are open. We're still have all of our staff consolidate those other 9 locations that we talked about in the past with extended day learning, strategically trying to figure out how to get those facilities open. But until then, the tent tutoring program will remain outside.
Do you think that the basketball may come back in the fall, or that's just depending on where we are at that time?
Like basketball leagues for youth and adults? Open
for the youth.
So, we are constantly looking at industry trends, looking at what other municipalities are doing, and they're starting to slowly bring it back. I know the athletic unit has started discussion on what that's going to look like. Of course, your challenges are maintaining social distancing, not just for your players, but for the participants, the spectators in the crowd. So we've been working on some strategies on how we can start offering more things. I don't see that we'll probably go back to open basketball for adults. And it'll still be a little while before we can continue with that. But, there's more structured, tightly supervised activities. Those are what we're looking at moving forward with.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was curious about related to, I guess, both the tent learning and anything that's going on indoors. Since CDC just updated, I think yesterday officially, to say that they do actually believe the virus to be airborne, where if you're in the same spot as someone some period of time afterwards, it could still possibly be contracted. When we're looking at the tents and things like that, are they doing anything to actually make sure the air is circulating? I mean, they're already just in a tent and it's outdoors and everything, but are there like fans that can take the air that's in there and blow it out or anything like that?
So right now they're working in open units, is not enclosed, since you've got that natural airflow going through. Also, following guidelines, they do have to wear a mask. They're still social distancing, so we're still adhering to all the CDC regulations.
Cool.
Yeah, one of the only things that they really requested from us, and it's one of the reasons why they picked the locations that they did, was having access to restrooms. And so we're making sure that our staff is going by and cleaning those on a regular schedule. But we were very, very adamant up front in our initial discussions with them to make sure that they were following and adhering to all of the social distancing guidelines and recommendations from the CDC and North Carolina Department of Human Health Services. So they have hand sanitizers, they're practicing social distancing, they're wearing masks, they're doing everything in their power to make sure that the environment is as safe as possible. But I do commend them for taking this step, because we've seen reports, and there have been articles in the news about how many students just weren't logging in to engage in remote learning. And so not only with this is just one example of some other partnerships that we're currently working on where we can help provide that assistance so that kids can continue to get the education that they need, even though they're doing a lot of it remotely. Any other questions for Leah? I did have, I believe there was an article in the paper last week I wanted to mention. I know that if you have been out at Winston Lake Golf Course or Winston Lake Park, this should be a great interest to you, but we're getting very, very close to moving forward with phase 2 improvements at Winston Lake. Here inside the recreation department, we see Winston Lake Park as Winston Lake Park. It has a golf course on it located on the property. About 26, maybe 27 years ago, the driving range there at Winston Lake Golf Course was built primarily with a lot of the soil from Winston Lake, the actual lake itself, when the lake was dredged. As part of the phase 2 improvements at Winston Lake Park, we're going to dredge the lake again. It's important to us to not only make sure that our facilities are safe, but that the ecosystems in our parks are as healthy as possible as well. We know that the health and the health of the fish and other wildlife that use the lake or call the lake home can be impacted if that lake area is not as healthy as it can be. So one of the things that we proposed early on in this process was that we dredge the lake again. And we met on site about 2.5 weeks ago, to talk about that actual dredging process. The contractor is actually going to pump the dredged material from Winston Lake up to the driving range at Winston Lake Golf Course. We're going to then take the majority of that material, regrade the driving range, and possibly introduce some, as opposed to it just being a large area, large grassed area where you can drive the ball and practice on your golf swing, but actually create some target zones and landing spots so that people can work on if they want to work on their woods, they have targets that they could shoot for. But once that entire process is complete, we're going to have a much, much, much nicer driving range there at Winston Lake Golf Course as a result of the improvements that are being made at Winston Lake as part of the phase 2 renovations. It's going to take anywhere between 9 months to a year to get all of it complete. But we're going to have some conversations. I plan on having some conversations with Tim Grant and the First Tee to look to see if they'll be willing to come to the table with some money that could allow us to possibly even irrigate the driving range. Right now, the driving range at Winston Lake Golf Course is not irrigated. But we're looking at creating some landing zones, some other targets out on the driving range as opposed to just being a large open area. But it will be an additional improvement for Winston Lake Golf Course. That's actually going to save us a lot of money because we won't actually have to haul all of that material off. But it's you can grow anything in this dredged material. They're going to create two sediment ponds there inside the driving range as part of this process. So once we get through those growing pains, the driving range is going to come back. It's going to be a much nicer driving range than it was previously. It's something that I think anyone that plays golf at Winston Lake will be appreciative of. I think it's going to look much nicer. It's going to be a much nicer facility for people to use. So I want to kind of let you know that that's coming. And when we get closer to some actual construction dates, I'll make sure that we share those with the commission as well.
Hey, William, is that going to improve the fishing at Winston Lake as well? Once they're done with that, will it be similar to what Salem Lake is, or is it going to be a whole lot, I guess, also beautified as well?
The majority of the phase 2 improvements are all centered around the lakefront. Will be, as part of the scope, the current scope is to add a fishing pier there at Winston Lake that people can go out on and actually fish off of, as opposed to just doing bank fishing. With the dredging of the lake, a lot of the old sediment, a lot of the trash, a lot of the debris that has been dumped or fallen in that lake over the years, all of that's going to get cleaned up. The fish, the lake itself is going to be a much healthier lake, which will in turn provide for much better fishing opportunities there at Winston Lake. But I think once the introduction of the new restroom, the new picnic shelter, the new kind of lakefront promenade are going to provide a much nicer area for anyone that's using or just using the park out around that lake. It's just going to be a much nicer experience. It's long overdue. But we'll have a brand new picnic shelter. We'll have a brand new restroom. There'll be new pedestrian walkways, benches, sidewalks. All of that will be included as part of phase 2.
That sounds great, man.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely awesome. And if you look at all of the money that we spent and invested in Winston Lake Golf Course, you look at the improvements that were made at Waterworks as part of phase 1. We're investing money in the community in ways and doing things that no one else is doing. So
I think the irrigation heads has just about been finished over there. Is that right? I think they got all the front side. They're working on the back side now, finishing that up. It's looking great. I mean, it's the best I've ever seen it look.
Yeah, they're finishing that up. We're also going to be working this fall to continue to do some selective tree removal so that our greens are as healthy as possible. We still have some shade issues out there, but we're investing a lot of time and resources into Winston Lake. And many years ago, it used to be this hub where families and communities would come together, exchange ideas, meet each other. And it's over the years, it lost some of that. I think that once we finish with all the improvements, especially with the phase 2 improvements, it will kind of get some of that back and get that community presence back in Winston Lake like we had it once before. I think it's going to be awesome once we're able to get that complete.
I got one question. I don't know if it's been a rumor or not. Lakeside Apartments, are they going to sell that property and renovate it and make, or is it someone has invested into it to bring new condos in that area? Have you heard anything of that nature?
I have heard that there are plans to make substantial improvements and upgrades to that particular area near Lakeside. I know that there was a firm, I believe out of Atlanta, that had some interest. I don't know where they are with that process. I have seen some drawings, but this was maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know where they are. The short answer to your question is yes. There are plans and there are some people involved in making some improvements to that area. Where they are with that process, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Are there any other questions regarding the departmental updates? When we began the meeting earlier, we did not have quorum. So I would like to ask Felicia to ask for approval of the minutes and get an official vote on that before we move forward.
Can we get an approval? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, for the next meeting, can we have an update on hobby park. There are the trees that are in the flight path for the RC airplanes. I know Renata's been out there, and it's been, a number of months, and we don't seem to have any resolution on that yet.
We can definitely get that, get some information, have that ready for you by the next meeting. And if we're able to get that information prior to, we'll make sure we get that sent out to the commission as well.
Yeah, they've asked me about it. So.
Also, Mr. Cassidy, he wanted an update on Long Creek. Do you want to give him a brief update before we approve the minutes?
Yes, I can do that. Long Creek, the phase 1 renovations at Long Creek are due to go to City Council this month. The improvements, the contract was awarded to LL Long Construction. The majority of the improvements include a new bathhouse. They're near the entrance of the park. There's some parking lot improvements. We're currently working with the fire department to do a controlled burn on the old clubhouse. Hopefully it's my goal to not have to use any city funding at all to get to aid in the removal of that building, as well as some of the other older structures that are on the site. We plan to just kind of get in there and get all that cleaned up. There are going to be golf cart path improvements, as well as a really, really nice, innovative picnic shelter that can also serve as a farmer's market. So all of those improvements are coming as part of phase 1 at Long Creek.
Thanks for the update. I started to get questions from some of the neighbors when the Winston-Salem Journal reported the other bond-issued projects.
Right. It's actually going to City Council for approval this month.
Wonderful.
And so it'll go to committee and then to full council for vote.
Good deal. I'll pass it along to the homeowner associations that are bordering the park.
Hey, William, I got a question for you. I know we talked about this, it's been a while. Where are we as far as possibly the Happy Hill project, as far as the gymnasium being named after Ben Piggott? I know we had talked about that a few months ago. I know they're still working on a lot of the area over there. So just wanted to update on that.
The commission approved the naming of the gym after Ben Piggott already. So that part is done. What we're waiting on is to get the actual gym renovations, to get the hardwood floor in. I know that Renata is currently working with our purchasing department to get that project out to bid. But there will be six gym floors total that will be all part of this package. Some of the initial, and I may have mentioned this to the commission before, but as part of the 2018 bonds, we received funding to renovate, to replace a lot of our gym floors that have a product on it called Sport Court, and replace it with hardwood floors. And we took this as an opportunity to not just put down your typical hardwood floor with your standard basketball court lines, three-point lines, etc., but took it as an opportunity to get really creative with the design that goes down with the gym floors. So all of that is still a go. We developed a specification. We provided that to our purchasing department, and I can provide an update to you in terms of what that scheduling will look like at our next commission meeting. But the gym has already been named after Ben. We want to kind of get the floor renovating and get the improvements to the gym itself before we do like a ribbon cutting and invite him out and do like the official ribbon cutting for that.
And that was done back in May of 2019. The naming was passed by council.
Right.
Everything with that is good to go. Did anybody have any other questions?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Back to Long Creek. I want to be sure I understand the removal of these old buildings. William, you and I talked about this a long time ago. There's some serious environmental hazards on that property. There's antifreeze and oil, a lot of garbage around that, one of those cart houses. And it's open to the public, which isn't good. I don't know. I'm surprised the neighborhood dogs haven't gotten into it. Are we going to get all of that stuff out of there expeditiously and then get going on this new construction in that order?
The answer to your question is yes. I don't want the commission to take this as an excuse. But our maintenance division was, we've been almost completely decimated as a result of COVID. We are behind on a number of things that we wanted to do and want to do. The answer to your question is yes. We're aware that it's that the building that's kind of further back as you continue past the first few buildings and you kind of go around a corner, there is some of everything inside that building, and we know that it's there. We did have some conversations with other city departments on how they would recommend to dispose of that. But that entire area will have to be cleaned up and cleaned up according to code. So all of the chemicals and the oil and the transmission fluid, all of that will be disposed of properly. And once the area is cleaned up and it doesn't present any sort of environmental challenges, the building structure itself will be removed as well.
What do you think is the time frame for getting these things done in our current circumstances?
We are, I don't want to put a date or a timeline out there without being able to discuss with my park superintendent first. I believe that we can get that accomplished while the construction is going on at Lone Creek as part of phase one. It doesn't take, it's not a very timely, it doesn't take a tremendous amount of time to do the work. It's more so the fact that we're so far behind on everything else. Our crews, our construction crews, we've gone down from a 7-person crew to a 2-person crew currently. I mean, as of this week, just because of COVID. When they finished that, they were out at Salem Lake. They were finishing that up. Then the crews were going out to Bolton to finish the demolition for the playground renovation there. They have 2 other, I don't want to call them small projects, but they're 2 other issues that they need to handle that are safety risks. And then we'll look at getting out there to Lone Creek to get that area straightened up as well. It's going to take, it takes a lot of resources. And our maintenance department has, at one point, we had to shut the entire maintenance division down. And, you know, thanks to Leah and her staff, we were able to use recreation center staff and put them on park maintenance trucks just to go out and clean restrooms and empty trash in our parks. So it's been very, very difficult, and as a result, we've gotten behind. It is on our radar, and we know that it needs to be done. It is on the list of things that needs to be done. But I need to have my crews back full strength to get in there, to make good use of their time, to make sure that area gets cleaned up the way that it needs to.
Do you have any prognosis as to when your crew will be able to come back? I didn't realize that the COVID had that much effect. What condition our folks are in, and when we think we might have a full contingent again?
It could be, it's hard to tell. It could be, the problem that you run into with COVID is that we follow rules and all the guidelines outlined by the city. And the smart ones continue those social distancing guidelines, washing your hands, wearing a mask when we're outside of work. However, there are people that don't. And we're finding that it's our belief that people are possibly exposing themselves outside of work hours, but it begins to impact us at work because they're sick. Like we have 5 confirmed cases of COVID right now in our recreation maintenance department. And, it's being able to try to figure out how we can continue just basic services when you're already operating with a skeleton crew. It's extremely difficult. I'm thinking my hope is that before the end of this calendar year, that structure is gone. At a minimum, it's cleaned up, which means all of the chemicals and everything are hauled out of there, even if we have to contract out with someone to come in and do that for us. But we know that it's an issue and it needs to get addressed. And if we don't have the resources available in terms of actual city employees and staff time to do it, then we'll look at contracting that part out. It's just finding the money to pay for that large amount of disposal that's going to happen.
Thank you.
It's no problem at all. COVID is it's nasty, and the city is we're taking every precaution that we can to make sure that people and employees and environments are staying healthy. But it's to the point where, like last Wednesday evening, almost on the dot at 10 p.m., I began to have a sore throat, start coughing, didn't know what was going on, and ended up going to the doctor on Friday, getting an appointment with my doctor on Friday. And I had, I figured it was either allergies or a bad head cold, but I had to go get a COVID test. And my doctor didn't release me to come back to work until today. So even if there's the suspicion or someone does get tested, they can't be at work until those test results come back. The city won't allow them to come back until those test results come back. Right. And at the end of the day, I had a real bad head cold. It lasted for 2 or 3 days, and I did the best I could to get through it over the weekend, but I didn't get released to come back until today. So when you look at having to take 20 people at a time and send them out to get a COVID test, there's no way it won't impact our service delivery. And so it's tough. It's much tougher than it seems. And I can't thank my staff enough for, even pushing through some of the more difficult times, because earlier, several months ago, it was much worse. But as a governor eases restrictions, there are people, and it's not just city staff, there are people that think they have this notion that COVID has gone away, and it hasn't. Some of the latest statistics that I've read is that the cases are skyrocketing in 22, 24 states across the country. And it's within those states that they've begun to relax those restrictions. So very similarly, what happened with lifeguards in the pools this summer, lifeguards did everything they were supposed to do while they were at work. We had no idea they were socializing with each other outside of work. Things like that happen, and we don't have any control over that. However, we do realize that it impacts us as a department. It impacts our service delivery to the citizens, and we're doing our best. We're doing the best that we can to kind of navigate through that and come out there at the end of the tunnel and realize that it's a new day. So hats off to my staff. I couldn't thank them enough. Felicia, Leah, Renata, Leah's staff. I mean, they've been just absolute angels. I can't thank them enough. But everyone is doing everything that they can to try to get through this the best way possible.
Thank you.
That's all that I have. But we can provide a schedule for the upcoming construction projects that we have as a result of the 2018 bonds next month, so that you'll be aware of what when you've seen holes dug in the ground, you know what's going on. We have several playground renovations coming up. In addition to the work that's going on at Phase 2 at Winston Lake, the playgrounds that are located at the various picnic shelters at the park, all of those are getting ready to be renovated. And when I say, if you guys, you know how we like to do things, we try to push the envelope in terms of creativity when we make renovations. So we have some really, really nice playgrounds coming up there at Winston Lake. Some Long Creek finally moving forward with some development there is going to make a world of difference. The improvements Phase 2 at Salem Lake, as well as Phase 2 improvements at the Quarry. All of those things are going to just make our park system 10 times better than what it is today. And I'm happy to be part of that process, and we're actually living through a moment in time where we're actually making history. So just bear with us, and we'll make sure that we have that update for you in terms of the timeline for construction projects next month. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
We need to get a motion for the minutes.
Oh, yes.
Kimber, you want to go ahead and ask for that?
Excuse me?
You want to go ahead and ask for a motion to approve the minutes for September?
Okay, can we get a motion to approve the minutes for September?
I have one suggested addition.
Sure.
Page 2, where there's the overview of a department recognition, a reorganization, excuse me. My recommendation would be that we add in Allison and Josh's titles. It lists that we've got 4 new positions, but doesn't indicate which 2 they're filling.
Okay. Yep, we can do that. I'll go ahead and put the people that fill the other 2 as well.
Good deal. Thank you. I'll motion to approve.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Are there any oppositions?
Abstention. I wasn't present.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's go ahead. So the minutes are approved. And do you guys have any other questions or comments for anybody?
I thank you all, and hopefully sometime in the near future we can get back to enjoying lunch with each other and get back to a point where we can start having these face-to-face meetings again. But I guarantee you, when we do sit down and have lunch together, it's going to be a feast. We're going to eat well, so I guarantee you that. But I really do appreciate all of you all's patience and everything, and thank you for being part of our commission.
Thank you.
Also, one other side note, for those of you that were reappointed, I am mailing out gold cards. I think, Joe, I don't believe you ever got yours, so I'm also sending you one as well. Does everybody else have theirs? Do you guys know what a gold card is?
No.
I know what it is.
Mr. Kimber, you have a gold card. You don't know what a gold card is?
He's playing.
He knows what it is.
I want a permanent gold card like he's got.
Yeah, that's the permanent gold.
Give me the permanent gold card like he's got.
That's the platinum card. That's the platinum card.
Motion to give Mr. Kimber a permanent gold card.
I served on the committee for, I was a member of this, not this one, but another mayor's committee from the early 90s with Norma Smith. We served on the commission that bought the shopping center to East Winston. So I have probably almost 13 years on the committee.
Wow.
2 committees.
Well, that's awesome, Mr. Kimber. You know what? I can't think of a better 4 years of any committee that you've been on other than ours. And we do appreciate
And he's
it.
even agreed to stay longer, too.
Yeah, I love it. It's really fun, you know, and I enjoy playing golf.
I bet you do.
Well, if there's no further business, could I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
Second. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, bye-bye.